Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, we're going to ask the question: is motivation the key to learning? In order to answer that question, I think we really need to first define what motivation is. Perhaps our ancestors would have seen motivation as some kind of invisible power which is in us or around us, with us, some kind of soul force. And in different parts of the world, especially here in the West, that power would have been defined more in religious terms or in language of faith or church. It wouldn't have been defined by ourselves. The word motivation, I'm sure, didn't really exist in the same way as it exists today, or at least it would have had a very different meaning. Motivation is really very, very important. And I think it's important to look at where it comes from and what it is in order to try to work with it. I've been a teacher for 30 years now, and I can honestly say that the only thing I know about it is that it is there.
I don't know that one.
Well, Alexa might be right there saying she doesn't know that one. I don't know that one either.
Know that one.
I must have used a key word to bring her to life there. Maybe that's a good metaphor for motivation, but let's continue. Yeah, so motivation. As a teacher, I still, even after all these years, don't know where it comes from. But I can assure you that it is there, and those students who tap into it are always the most successful. Why is that? Well, I think it's because they don't really push English. They're very comfortable with who they are. They're very comfortable with getting up and getting on with life. It just kind of flows. There's no blocks there. There's nothing there which is stopping them. If they fall, they get up. They continue, they go on. A little bit like children. Children have a motivation to live and to play. They don't seem to be pulled down with the want of money, wondering where the next meal is coming from. They just do, perhaps as the sun just shines. It might sound a little bit of an innocent attitude, especially when you're learning English to pay the bills and to make sure that you have enough money in your pocket to provide for the family. But yet there is something else, and that is that the more free we can be with English, the better it becomes. If we simply carry our mistakes with us like a bag on our shoulder, we'll very quickly get weighed down. When we're weighed down, we often don't feel motivated because we don't feel we can make any changes and we feel a little bit trapped. Those people who are able to stand up and dust themselves off are usually the ones who are most successful at language learning. Some people think that the best way to learn a language is to be perfect, not to make any mistakes. And I can assure you that that kind of attitude just leads to you being forced to lower your expectations. Unfortunately, language learning doesn't quite work that way. Language learning is best seen as how easily and quickly you can stand back up again after those days when you don't feel motivation. I would encourage all of you, though, to take a moment just to think about this power and energy. It's something you have full control over. How do you bring it forward? Is it brought forward by watching motivational clips? By people talking to you about motivation? Whatever way you view it, though, you have to remember that it is there and it's waiting for you to pull you forward. It's not something that you have to go and get. It's simply something that you have to use. Motivation is a very different thing from forcing yourself to do something which your body tells you that you really, really don't want to do. Motivation is a higher thing. It's something which comes from a higher source. If you want to define that in different ways, you can. But whatever way you do it, you have to realize that it's something that's there with you. And the more you honour it and nurture it, the easier it becomes to see. Some people really believe that their motivation comes from moments of silence. I've noticed that recently, in the last maybe 10, 15 years, more and more students are telling me that they use some form of meditation. I was quite shocked at first because of my age, I come from a generation where meditation perhaps shows weakness. But some of them have told me quite earnestly that having a moment of silence, just closing their eyes, just reflecting without any distractions, allows them great clarity. I have tried that a few times. I have to say that I found it very, very hard, especially in the beginning. But now I'm very comfortable to sit for 20 minutes or half an hour in complete silence. And I find that certainly does help me to be motivated. It seems to somehow come from the silence, not from the things which are ahead of me. If I relied on myself to push up motivation, I don't think there would be much hope for anybody. But I can assure you that taking a few moments in silence does allow me at least to reflect and to get rid of any baggage enough to see motivation coming up. So the question then, is motivation absolutely necessary, and is it the only way to learn a language? I have to say yes, but it depends on how you define motivation. If you define it as an energy or a force outside of you, which you have to go and get, I don't think that's very useful in language learning. But the more you learn about it, the more that you can see that it's simply there, then I think you'll find that you have everything you need to continue on your journey or to journey forward. Thanks. See you. Goodbye.